What would 12-year-old you never believe about adult you? That all of the things I said I would always remember and never do as an adult, I have largely forgotten and probably do as an adult. 12-year me wanted to buy a boat instead of a house, and then I could just live wherever I want and not have a job because I would not have rent. 12-year me was kind of a genius, and you fish for your food. 12-year me had not thought it out that far. We never got that growth spurt we were promised. Same. I'm in my 20s and people still tell me I will get one day. Edit. A lot of y'all seem to think I'm a man somewhere around 5 feet. I'm a 25-year-old woman that's somewhere around 4 feet 8. I have been that tall since 10th grade. A friend of mine got it at 22. He was shorter than his brother, but ended up taller. There is still hope for me. That I still laugh at the exact same things. Still listen to the same music too. High school never ends. That sometimes, when I am not paying attention, my mom's word slipped right out of my mouth. Sometimes it happens, even when I'm paying attention. I'm too young to turn into her. My mother is not always wrong. She is right about a lot of things, even if they did not make sense when I was younger. Most subjective things though, no. For almost 9 years, I have worked literally 1 minute away from a huge water park and I have never gone there. I lived in New Zealand for 8 years. Been to the studio and the film locations. Still haven't seen the movies. Edit. Funny how I forgot to mention Lord of the Rings, but I think everyone upvoted know what movie was talking about. I traveled in Mexico, and when I told one of the guys who worked at a hostel I stayed at that I was from New Zealand, he was like, oh, they made that movie there. And I was like, yep, Lord of the Rings. And he looked confused and said number. The other one. Once we are warriors. There is no punk line beyond that. I just wanted to share that story. Doesn't he need one? That's the funniest thing I've read all day. The fact that he looked confused really paints a picture. We never achieved that swan status. Still an ugly duckling. I read the Hans Christian Andersen story. It features many times of the ugly duckling saying I'm so ugly, I should just die. It is not a good moral. A better moral is you may be an ugly duck, but that's because you are really a dog, and someone out there thinks you are one heck of a dog. Just gotta find that person. I'm from Denmark, so it was written in my language, but that message was pretty clear to me, although our teachers did have us analyze it. The ugly duckling was always the ugliest of the bunch, and Noon quite liked it. However, the mother would never give up on it, a mother's love. So it went on to think that Noon other than the mother, and perhaps even the mother, would ever love it. But when it finally met someone who saw him as one of the most beautiful swans, he could be happy. It was not him being a duck or a swan. It was for someone else to see who he really is. An ugly person can go through a tough childhood with bullying, only to find out that his personality will have someone fall for him eventually. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Most of his stories have some ducked up twist or insane moral, but it is usually all true and meant to teach kids that life is not easy. The Little Mermaid who gave up everything to someone she barely knew, only to be turned down and left to die because she had no more to give, and so on. That I have a kid taller than me. I am not tall or anything, just never pictured being shorter than my 13-year-old. I'm 5'7" and married someone who is 5 feet 10 or taller. Our son is like 6'1" at 17 and daughter is 5'9" at 15. Probably makes sense considering my father-in-law is 6'4". Genetics are so cool. Same, I am 5'6", my husband is 5'9", our 2 sons are 6'4". Well, stop giving them steroids for breakfast then, mama. That I am almost 40 and still don't have a stable full of horses. I just turned 40 and finally do have a horse of my own. It was well worth the wait. Young me. Same. Finally got my beautiful mare when I was 30. Been wanting one basically more than life itself since I was 9. Young me would have started foaming at the mouth if she knew. I'm the opposite. Grew up with horses. Gave it all away forever at 26. 12-year me would be horrified. That I have not gotten married. That's something I just assumed would happen, and yet here we are, and I'm still single. I think he would also be surprised at how rough my teenage years were. I feel ya OP. Not only that I have not gotten married, but that I have spent the last 13 years single, and that I failed out of college twice, and I'm only now doing well enough to finally get a bachelor's next year at 33. I did not fail out, but I just stopped going a few times. Being in your early 30s getting the degree is not that weird. It really is not. I got my bachelor's at 22, but I didn't finish my master's until 34. There were quite a few of us around the same age. We had a huge advantage too because we already had experience in our field. Many of us, myself included, were actually working for companies that paid for our school. There is absolutely nothing weird about getting a degree in your 30s. That, I too, don't know what the duck I am doing with my life. LOL, I think 12-year-old me knew more about what I was doing in life than I do. Ignorance is bliss, I'm told. I'm still trying to figure out if I really was smarter quicker before my depressive bit or I just did not know how much stuff I missed. Like nowadays it feels like I got a veil over my sensory input and cannot fully grasp the reality of the situation, whereas back in the day everything was so clear and graspable in a way. I live in a whole but other country and speak another language now. That definitely would come as a surprise. Where did you come from? Where did you go? US to Japan it seems like. 12-year-old him is like LOL. Not surprised weeb. She has friends. Good. Supportive. Long-term friends. Yep. 12-year-old me ate lunch by herself and did not know what to tell mom when asked who we should invite for my birthday party. 34-year-old me has now lived in 5 different states and keeps up with an enormous number of real, supportive friends from all those states. And nearly all those friends have PhDs, because I met them through grad school. I just had to wait to find the people who liked school as much as I did. That I am in bed usually by 8:45 every night. To sleep. Same. And be horrified that I consider 10 PM late. That the brother I hated would become my best friend. Yes. Took my nearly 20 years to connect with my brother. I'm still working on it with mine. It is hard when you relate so much to another person and yet you have vastly different personalities. For me it helped a lot to find music we both liked. We are still very different, but with focusing on our similarities we got more than a friendship and always spend time together, even if it seems boring, annoying at times. That I actually like bees now and want to pursue beekeeping someday. I used to hate all bugs no matter what, but with more research, I realized that bees aren't so bad. Still hate other bugs though. So bees are all the buzz. Indeed they are. They are also the bee's knees. Do bees even have knees? That he would become a scientist after all. Being a dirt flop or country kid seemed unsurmountable at the time. What kind of science? While Sheldon would not approve, I became a geologist LOL. Now I think that being a geologist rocks. What kind of geology interests you? I actually like exercise and physical activity. It is just PE class that sucked. School does a surprisingly good job of sucking every last bit of fun out of many subjects. PE focused on competitive team sports, horrible for non-competitive or less coordinated people. My school loved doing dance exercise. Every single year, without fail, we would have 1 or 2 terms of dancing. In grade 9, I got incredibly sick. My feet swelled up so much that I could not wear my school shoes. I was diagnosed with arthritis and given a letter from the doctor to excuse me from PE. It was one of those dance terms. She laughed at my letter because only old people get arthritis and then called me lazy. I tried really hard that term, but I still got a crappy grade. Because dancing when your feet are in excruciating pain is not very graceful. You should have gone to the principal or something, because that almost sounds like abuse. That I'm overweight and I became a suit. How often do you dry clean yourself? Is that a euphemism for masturbation? It is now. That I own an ice cream shop. As an ice cream shop owner, how much ice cream do you in fact still consume? Do you get tired of it after a while? Can one even get tired of ice cream? I'm not OP, but my parents own an ice cream shop that I basically grew up in. So I think I'm qualified to answer this question, and yeah, you basically eat ice cream every day. Why were you living my dream? I'd still sit down for an all-night session of Dungeons and Dragons. I never played D&D, but I really want to try. I have been listening to a bit of the Adventure Zone podcast, and it sounds like a blast. Growing up, it was always the bottom of the barrel for nerdism. You could play or be into anything nerdy and get away with it, because at least it is not D&D. I think my friends and I would really dig it if they just got past the stereotype. The last time I talked about it some time ago, the idea got shot down. Maybe I will give it another go the next time I go home, or try arranging it with them online over Roll20. The biggest problem is that I would likely have to be Dungeon Master for a group that knows nothing about it. I barely do. Do not worry. Those early sessions figuring stuff out are so fun. Just jump into it, create a story, and have fun. It is the best part of it really. I made it to 21. Same. Then I hit 25. And now I'm looking at 30. It is really weird to think that I did not think I would make it this far, but I have somehow dragged myself through. I'm literally in the same boat, but still at the 21 mark. I will be 22 in September, and even just thinking about that gives me a panic attack. You absolutely got this, homie. That I have heard a pilot scream "Mayday, Mayday" before ejecting. I'm an air traffic controller. Did they make it? Yes, they did. Hospital for a while, but he was back flying in a month or two. Hey, you know that girl over there you think is really weird? You are going to marry her. You knew your wife when you were 12. Awesome. It is pretty sweet. I met my wife in 9th grade home economics. I dated her friend for a while. She blocked me on AIM for like 2 years because she was an awkward nerd that did not get why a guy would want to just be friends with her. She loved Age of Empires, and so did I, and I wanted to play with her. We did not have out in 11th grade, but started to in 12th, and she got busted about the blocking me. A few weeks later we started dating and have been married for almost 11 years now. Oh, that's super cute. On my second date with my now fiancé, we discovered that he still had a copy of the issue of Pokemon World magazine that I would had my design a monster entry printed in when I was 8. So we would technically never met, but he would seen my art like 13 years prior. I'm a much better artist now. That I do math for a living. Ducking math. He would have been so upset. Edit wow. Did not expect so many replies to this of all posts. Must be a lot of accidental mathematicians out there. I should have been more specific. I'm a financial analyst, so I play with numbers and spreadsheets and that kind of stuff all day. So not even the cool kind of math that helps us get into space or anything. More like, yeah. Last year we spent 45% more on Lacroix for the office than in the previous year. So, maybe less Lacroix this year. Edit 2 for more clarity. All I ever wanted to be was a musician. Even went to school for music. Still play pretty much every day. Just never made a living from it. So I went from rock roll to profit loss, as it were. 12-year-old me would have been mad. But 17-year-old me really got the hang of the stuff, so he would not be surprised. 17-year-old me would have been mad. But 20-year-old me chilled the F out and is okay with it. That I would be a firefighter. Yeah, dude, you get to ride in the truck. This is so wholesome. My penis never grew. At least it didn't shrink. Well, he didn't say that. That my father would die young. Both of his parents lived well into their 90s. He was athletic, non-smoker, not a risk taker. He also turned out to be the only one in his family to get cancer, a particularly deadly type. I'm sorry to hear about that. Cancer sucks. About the only thing I can say about cancer. Cancer sucks, simple and to the point. That I'm marrying the girl I had a crush on then. We found the main character. That I'm on my way to becoming a doctor. 12-year-old me would scream why. Rant about how doctors are the scariest beings ever and how the hospital drives you nuts. 12-year-old me really wanted to be a pilot. 12-year-old me did not want to be a doctor either. I was already sick of school at that point. Doing that until I'm 30. No thanks, I will pass. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.